So this is the Khoodeelaar television channel broadcasting on the internet, not on terrestrial, not on satellite, not on cable, only on the internet. And this is the time for this broadcast is 2028, 2030, let's say, GMT, which is 21:30 British Standard Time on Thursday, the 25th of August, 2022. In the last 72 hours, in the evolving revolution for democracy and justice in Pakistan, led by Imran Khan, has been moving very fast, with an appearance in court on Thursday, that is today, at Islamabad court by Imran Khan. Has been given another bail. And Imran Khan said to his supporters rally participants in Haripur, which is not far from Islamabad really. Haripur is the place that Field Marshal Ayub Khan came from, but his name is not mentioned. Historically, it has to be mentioned that he came from Haripur, but during his 10 years in the post of the dictator, military dictator, Ayub Khan never got featured in association with Haripur or anything to do with the rural area that he came from. But Imran Khan mentioned yesterday, that is Wednesday, that Liaquat Ali Khan spoke at that venue in Haripur that he was speaking at. Liaquat Ali Khan was, of course, assassinated in America. Or was it somebody else that was assassinated in a plane crash? But Liaquat Ali Khan was assassinated in Pakistan, probably, yes. We had a man called Azam Khan. Azam Khan was the governor of East Pakistan under Ayub Khan's dictatorship. It is absolutely unbelievable that Azam Khan became completely demilitarized and totally civilianized, and he became totally East Pakistaniized, if you like. So much so that he took to walking on the streets of East Pakistan, where people would come and embrace him, literally embrace him. And we witnessed Azam Khan during one of those walkabouts in Sylhet, not far from the circuit house, but he was walking on the bank of the river Shurma. I mean, we should talk about the contrast between Azam Khan and the other governors during the period of Ayub Khan to illustrate the points about the democracy and the dictatorship. And the democracy and dictatorship is, of course, part of the theme of the discussion that Imran Khan is having to make. And I say he is having to make because in the 75 years plus since August 1947, This kind of discussion has not taken place either in Pakistan before December 1971 or in Pakistan since December 1971, nor indeed in the Republic of India. Now, I've come across a piece in the Hindustan Times or Times of India, one of those, by a columnist woman. It's a Bengali woman, I think, by the name of it. She's called Sagarika Ghosh. That is my pronunciation. It's not a Hinduized Hindi's pronunciation, but it's a Bengali pronunciation. Sagarika Ghosh. Now, Sagarika Ghosh has been very crafty, so crafty indeed, that in one little sentence she manages to supersede and exceed in diplomacy and linguistic twisting and corruption all the criminals, including Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry and others who have been ritually attacking the idea of a Muslim state in the subcontinent. In other words, the much derised two-nation theory. Two-nation theory is only derised when it comes to it being applied to uphold the rights of the Muslims being under attack. Two-nation theory is not invoked, let alone condemned, when it comes to the Hindutva majority. Who is that? Who is that? Go away. So this is the reality of broadcasting on the internet. Got so many interruptions. And going back to the condemnation, ritual condemnation of the two-nation theory and the mention of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, especially perpetrated during the so-called Bengali language ceremony, anniversary. I'm going to expose the Bengali language theory in a minute. If it is Bengali language whose national status was at the root of the protests against Jinnah, then how is it that more than 70 years later, the so-called proponents and campaigners for Bengali as a state language, as an international language, don't use the Bengali language to commemorate the so-called campaigns? They use the English language for the Bengali language. Think about it for a minute and think about how absurd and how stupid, and to use the language, that phrase that Imran Khan has been using, how gulami mentality is it? How completely gulami mentality is it on the part of the so-called campaigners for the Bengali language to still use the English language? I'm using English language, but I'm not doing that by hypocrisy or contradiction. I'm doing it as a positive vehicle of communication. The proponents and the so-called claimants of the Bengali language movement don't use the Bengali phrase or words to commemorate, let alone to articulate the actually importance and significance of the Bengali language. The Bengali language is commemorated on the 21st of February every calendar month, 21 February. Now, the calendar is not Bengali, is it? And so on. So, Imran Khan has been saying, and his speech, I treat it as a manifesto of the revolution. It repeatedly refers to the Medina state and the direction given by the Prophet, peace be on him, after a dispute between a Jewish person and non-Jewish Muslim person arose. The idea of being an independent country or independent society while still remaining gulam, mentally gulam, that is incompatible, that is contradictory. In fact, Imran Khan has derided this gulami mentality, gulami minded media in Pakistan. And this derision and condemnation is absolutely factually, objectively, evidentially, totally correct and founded. So he's talking about, Imran Khan is talking about, especially the period 622 to 630, I think, or 632, in the state of Medina, and the rights of the minorities and the rights of the Jewish people in a Muslim majority community. So I take that, the complete reference, the framework that Imran Khan is drawing as part of the manifesto of the Muslim state, a fair state. And I also incidentally point out that in Mirpur yesterday, Wednesday, the 24th of August 2022, proportion of the attendees, the participants, were women, and they could only come mainly from Mirpur and the adjoining areas. So Imran Khan kept saying, and he has not said it only yesterday, he has been saying it for weeks, saying that a society to prosper, it has to have democracy. Without democracy, there is no stability. That is the word he uses. And without stability, there is no actual economic progress, he says. Plainly made and simply conveyed. What Imran Khan has been saying in the last few months, increasingly, he is delivering arguments with more effective articulation. And we shall come to that in due course. Before we move to the other items, Imran Khan is, of course, the most popular current politician in Pakistan or in any part of the subcontinent. India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal. I think that we shall skip Nepal for the time being. For various reasons, Nepal stands out as not being quite typical province. Because if you give her Marjorie, there are so many aspects to the state: democratic state, free state, just society, that we shall be separately diagnosing and updating on. These are totally fascinating topics. Not that we didn't know, we have known, but this is making observations from a distance. We are the third party here. And Imran Khan is the first and second parties. If Imran Khan had actually promulgated during the 3 years or 2.5 years of his time as Prime Minister, if he had said things that about society, about justice, democracy, accountability, all of that, those things that he has been saying now, it is absolutely possible that all these dogs, including baby dog, but baby dog has to stay a distance behind for his own safety. I think that the news gathered by my mother about Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry and the liar Jabbar Beg. Jabbar Beg was, according to my mother's information, about 20 years ago, or about my mother's Times and the Sunday Times of the last 30 years. It is clear on the contents of these papers what their agenda is. We shall be concluding at this stage and come back in due course. So it has been, we've been broadcasting. How long have we been broadcasting on this one? 19 minutes.